Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about decimals as well as comparing and putting decimals in order from least to greatest. First, we're going to start out with a little bit of a review. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. And with this, we're just going to go over basic place value. So as you can see, here's where the decimal point would be. Everything to the left of the decimal point is my whole number. So you guys are very familiar with place value for whole numbers over here. We have ones, tens, hundreds, 1,000s, 10,000s, and 100,000s. So that's a review. This is just a little reminder of where the comma would go, right? So that's I know you guys have that down solid. And then what we have also talked about before is what comes after the decimal point, or our fractional parts of one. Now it's important to remember that it is after the decimal point because it is not a whole. If you have $1.23, you would acknowledge that 23 cents is part of a dollar, right? If you had a whole dollar, you'd put it on the other side of the decimal in our whole numbers. So this is our fractional parts of one, and that place value is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Can be a little bit of a tongue twister sometimes. So this is going to really be our base for how we're looking at these decimals. Okay, now we're going to hop over here and we're going to look at what we are doing when we are comparing decimals. The most important thing to do when we're comparing decimals is to make sure that our decimals are stacked on top of one another, so that when we're comparing them, we're not just kind of taking our eye's word for it, but we can look at them stacked on top of each other. So in this first example, it has 0.823 and 0.839. So looking over here, I would start here. If this number was bigger, I would know that that decimal is bigger, right? 75 cents, 0.75 is bigger than 50 cents, 0.5, right? So I want to look here. Well, these are the same. So then I keep going. And whichever one is bigger, then that is the one that would be bigger. So 0.839 would be bigger here. Then I have over here 0.13 and 0.10. A good way to think about it again is in terms of money when there's two digits. So I either have 13 cents or 10 cents. I can stack them on top of each other like I have them over here. The ones match, the 3 is bigger, so the 3 would be bigger. Okay, now I want to hop down a little bit and go to one that's commonly confused, which is this one on number 5. This is commonly confused because a lot of times kids look at it and they quickly say, oh, it's equal, because they see a 2 and a 0. Really not equal. If you look at this in terms of money, this is 2 cents and this is 20 cents. Now, sometimes they were nice here and they gave you a 0 here. I have seen in other times, I have seen it written out like this on a worksheet where it's 0.2 and then it's just 0.02, I'm sorry, and then 0.2 like this. They're trying to trick you. Here's the thing with this, okay? Anytime you have a decimal that says 0.2, we want to fill it in with zeros so that the amount of digits match. You cannot sneak a 0 in between this decimal and this 2. You can't do that. That would change the value. What you can do is add a decimal after. In fact, you could add 2, right? It would have the same thing. These are all equals. That still is 0.2, okay? So what we want to do, if they did present it to you that way, if they did present it to you with just 0.02 and 0.2, that's one that they would really try to trip you up. You would want to add that 0 in over there so that then you'd be able to see very clearly which one is bigger. So out of these, 0.2 is definitely bigger than 0.02. Okay, so as we go through here, here's another one that might be a little bit confusing, but they do have the same amount of digits. So we either have 0.05 or 0.01. They both have zeros, that matches. So then I would look to my next digit and 5 is bigger, so that would be bigger. And the only other thing that you want to be a little bit careful of that doesn't exactly have this as an example here, sometimes they will actually try to throw a whole number in there to confuse you. So they're thinking, oh, they're thinking about decimals right now. We're going to throw this whole number in. Well, it's fairly obvious that 1 point anything is smaller than 4 point anything, right? But if you're not careful and you're not looking, okay, you might just see this 0.32 and this 0.12 and say, oh, well, this one's smaller. but you need to look over here at your whole numbers first. Okay, so in your assignment today, turn this off. In your assignment today, you are going to be looking at some different numbers. I have this anchor chart here first. It says make a place value chart, ones, tenths, and hundredths. You don't have to write out a chart, although you can if it helps you. And what I do recommend doing though is writing your decimals out so that the decimals are stacked. Then it says put a 0 in all empty places. So see how this said 1.3 and they added this 0 in? That way they could see that that 0 was there so that everything matched. Once everything matches, it's fairly easy to order them and compare them. We're also going to quickly review the place value here. Okay, anytime you're doing a question like this, all you're going to do is drag and drop, right? So you're going to take the text box and you can drag it. Anytime you see this, you can always click right back to slide 4 and look right here at this anchor chart, and that will help you. Here, what this is asking you to do is make 827 and 1/10. So I would drag this, so 827, and then it says and 1/10. So then I would look back here, maybe if I needed help, I could go back to slide 4 and say, oh, that's the tenths, that first one right after the decimal point. So I would want 0.1. That represents 1/10. So that would be 827 and 1/10. So you're just clicking and dragging that. The comma's there if you need it. I did not need it for this particular example. And that is how you would form the answer to that. All right, so it's just really taking all of these, putting them into word form and keeping in mind that place value that we talked about. So remember, I'm here if you need me. With your Google Forms, if you get any incorrect, since there's only a couple questions, I ask that you redo it and look for help. My first choice would be for you to come to me for help, so come join me in Google Hangouts. I'll be waiting for you there. My second choice would be for you to ask a parent, but I really want you to try to lean on me as much as you can. So if you have any questions or any confusion about this assignment, please come find me. And if not, I will see you at another time. Have a great day.